Hello and welcome to episode 423 of the official EstablishTheRun.com podcast. My name is Adam Levitan and I'm back for another edition of Market Monday, in August 22nd edition. This show is designed to get you up to speed very quickly on recent average draft position, aka ADP movement in the fantasy football market. In the show notes, you can find a free link to charts and the full article on this topic from ETR Director of Analytics, the man behind all this, Michael Leone. By the way, want to give a heads up that our early bird special, which combines our fantasy football draft kit with our in-season package, not props, draft kit with in-season package, that early bird expires on Wednesday. Head to the subscribe page to check it out. Also, if you're the type of person listening to a fantasy football market update podcast right now, you should be putting your knowledge to work at Underdog Fantasy. Promo code ETR will get you up to $100 in free entries. Remember, they have this ridiculous $2 million to first fantasy tournament going on right now on a $25 buy-in. Insane stuff. That's promo code ETR for $100 in entries at Underdog Fantasy. All right, let's begin with the risers from the last 7 days. First one I'm going to talk about is Allen Lazard. Allen Lazard is up 2.3 spots on Underdog to 72nd overall. It's a guy that I've really struggled with all offseason. On one hand, he's the best wide receiver on an Aaron Rodgers team. And Aaron Rodgers, wide receiver one, has historically been one of the best players in fantasy. But there's really nothing in Lazard's profile that suggests he's really good enough to be the number one wide receiver on an NFL team. He's not Greg Jennings or Jordy Nelson or Devontae Adams, nowhere close. And at wide receiver, unlike at running back, at wide receiver, you really need to be a good player to have an elite season. And I know that Allen Lazard was playing next to Devontae Adams a lot, but Lazard has never earned more than 4.6 targets per game in a season. Now, that said, there's certainly some upside here if we think Lazard can be that alpha. There's actually a lot of upside. So I'm okay with him in the 70s. I just think the range of outcomes is wider than people realize. As for playing time, I do think the Packers will start with Allen Lazard and Sammy Watkins on the outside, Randall Cobb in the slot, Romeo Doubs and maybe Christian Watson will have their chances eventually, but I don't think it starts that way. I think they go with those three veterans at the wide receiver. They play slow. They play very run heavy through Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon. Second riser to talk about is Dameon Pierce. Dameon Pierce is up 18 spots to 100th overall on Underdog. He's also up to 88th overall right now on FFPC. And this was obvious after the Dameon Pierce stuff from preseason week 1 and is only going to intensify after on Saturday, Pierce rested while the Texans had Marlon Mack and Rex Burkhead play. Now, we're starting to get a little bit expensive on Dameon Pierce. He's still a buy for me at 100 overall, but as we get into the 80s, it does get a bit harder. I mean, the Texans backfield does not project to be a fantasy gold mine at all. And I do think that Rex will play on pass downs a decent amount. Marlon Mack likely has a breather back. So projecting Dameon Pierce for 250, 300 touches, that's just not practical or wise. But that said, to get a really good player with a clear path to a featured running back job around 90th overall, 100th overall, maybe 80th overall, I think that it's worth the gamble there. Third riser is another rookie running back. It's Brian Robinson, up 28 spots, 142nd overall. Another one that's climbing really fast and is going to keep climbing. And no one should be surprised. I mean, the Commanders told us how they felt about Antonio Gibson all offseason. They desperately re-signed J.D. McKissic. They use a round 3 pick on Brian Robinson. Gibson fumbles, gets benched in preseason week 1. Robinson starts week 2. The bottom line is that with J.D. McKissic hogging all the third downs and 2-minute stuff, plus Brian Robinson a threat at the goal line, I was always off Antonio Gibson. And now he might not even have a great base role. I think it's pretty likely that the Commanders think Robinson is the better option right now. So yeah, easy no-brainer buy on Brian Robinson at 142. And I don't think something into the 110 range or so is crazy at all. Just can't go too far on Brian Robinson because Antonio Gibson is still a talented dude and the reception projection on Brian Robinson is really, really low. Last riser I want to mention quickly is Clyde Edwards-Helaire, up 4.2 spots to 82nd overall. I know that it's good for CEH that Ronald Jones is likely to be cut. Patrick Mahomes has played 36 snaps this preseason. CEH has started both games. Ronald Jones has been on the field for 0 snaps with Patrick Mahomes this preseason. So that's good for CEH. The concern is that Jerick McKinnon is the passing back. He's likely to play on third downs and in the 2-minute, I think. So CEH is capped a little bit. And Isaiah Pacheco, he's a candidate to be a breather back and maybe earn more. We'll see. Now, that said, CEH can still catch plenty of passes on early downs, and we do expect the Chiefs to be in the red zone a ton, which is obviously good for Edwards-Helaire. So I think he's still fine in the 80s. It's just not as clean as it may seem. All right, let's get to this week's fallers. Miles Sanders is down 4.1 spots to 87th overall. Miles has been missing a bunch of camp the last couple of weeks due to his hamstring issue. Not good. There have also been some Kareem Hunt to the Eagles rumors out there lately. Also, obviously would not be good. And we know Kenny Gainwell will likely be the passing down back. Not good. But that said, Sanders remains the most talented runner the Eagles have, and they have the NFL's best offensive line. Shout out to Brandon Thorne for his rankings. And this Eagles team, I think, is going to run a lot. So I'm still taking some shots here as Miles Sanders is falling towards the 90. I'd also note that in preseason week 2, Boston Scott started, not Kenny Gainwell. It's very possible that Boston Scott is the direct backup to Miles Sanders, while Gainwell kind of has his own role siloed off. Second faller is Isaiah Spiller. He is down 9 spots to 132nd overall. It's scary on Isaiah Spiller. I don't want to panic. It's so early. It's a long season. But both preseason games that Isaiah Spiller has played, he's been behind Josh Kelly and Larry Roundtree. And we know that Kelly and Roundtree aren't very good at NFL football. So not moving ahead of them, Spiller not moving ahead of them, I think is a flag. Also, Isaiah Spiller hurt his ankle during Saturday's game. Doesn't seem like a big deal, but just another issue. I will say that all this stuff is good for Austin Eckler. I think the Chargers want to take a bit of work off his shoulders, ideally. But if they don't have anyone they like, then maybe the usage just stays the same way it was last year. Last faller is Travis Etienne, down 3 spots to 31st overall in FFPC. Travis Etienne is really, really expensive in these online leagues. I do think in home leagues, he will go much, much later. But man, at 31st overall with James Robinson expected to be cleared for week 1, James Robinson may not be active for week 1, but there's certainly some good signs on his Achilles there. That's tough. And, Etienne, I think there's still some questions about him as both a base runner and as a pass catcher. So I like getting him in round 4, and I do take him in round 4 when he's there. Shower narrative with Trevor Lawrence. But I could still see some paths to this going bad, especially if Lawrence doesn't make that year 2 leap we expect and the offense just is not efficient. All right, that is going to do it for this August 22 edition of Market Monday. We'll be back tomorrow for Silva top 150 rankings changes as we go through all the preseason news of the week. We'll also have round by round favorite picks pod with Silva later this week. That's an annual favorite. For Jerry, for Producer Luke, for Producer Jax, I am Adam. Good luck, everybody.